Here.
Vice President Rick Webb.
Madam President.
Director Gregory Washington on the phone.
Here.
Director Byron Glennan.
Here.
Director Ben Stewart.
Here.
Okay, please rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move. Second.
Motion is made by Director Stewart, second by Vice President Webb. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, public comments. I will dispense with the reading of the statute, and but let's the record show that we are opening the floor for public comments. If you have any comments on non-agenda items, please come to the lectern. Okay, and being as there are no public comments, we will close public comments. Okay. All right, have a motion to approve minutes?
Move. Second.
Okay, motion was made by Director Stewart, seconded by Vice President Webb. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve consent calendar?
Motion. Second.
Motion is made by Vice President Webb, seconded by Director Washington. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, at this time, presentations, employee recognition of service, and I will hand this over to our General Manager.
Juan, if you'll come up. In recognition of your 26 years of service to the community of Rosamond, and more importantly, to the RCSD, right? We'd like to give you this token of our appreciation and recognition. So you might be able to place this on your wall and on your desk or wherever.
Right on the wall.
Should turn around so that
I think it should be given to his wife.
And
Can we
in
get a
addition-
photo?
And in addition, we'd like to present you with this desk clock that reads Juan De La Rosa in recognition of your 26 years of dedicated service to Rosamond RCSD.
I'm glad you can see that.
Glad y'all could put up with me for all this time.
Can I get a picture?
Hey, before you go, I'll keep
Please
you
stop
up
with
there.
your, can you do both together? Thank you.
Get them all.
Come on, you didn't think I'd do that one? I'm the picture person. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you guys get in there too?
No, that's all right. You guys
No,
did.
well, me first.
One right here. Right here.
Come on, boys, I want you to look good for this picture, okay?
Right.
Congrats, man.
Thank you. guys. Thank you. Right, I know, huh? Thank you, yeah, thank you. Greg, thank you.
You guys, thank you very much.
Juan, what is your last name?
De La Rosa.
De La Rosa, okay.
If I could,
Hear that one?
Greg, real quick.
Greg said congratulations.
Oh,
on the
thank
phone.
you.
This is for you.
He's on the phone. You can't see him.
Shannon,
Shannon.
Shannon,
Yes.
this is for you.
Yes, sir.
I know we gave him the prize,
Yes.
but I commend you also because all of us, we're always in the trenches doing something long hours.
and I know he couldn't do it without you. That's the support you give him, so we can't give you the prize. But remember, I got much respect for this man. That's 26 years of
Yeah.
anything.
He's a hard worker, he loves what he does.
And you, if he didn't have your back, and I know he couldn't be doing it. So
Thank you for recognizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, sir.
Kind of ornery in school.
Oh, okay, Mr. Glennan.
He can play football, though.
Don't out me like that right now.
And I just want to say, Juan, you said thank you, but the thank is from us, that this agency is better for you being here. And this community and this agency owes you a debt of gratitude for all your dedication and hard work over the years. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was very nice.
Okay, new business. New business 1. Authorize an amount not to exceed $130,000 for architectural engineering services for the construction documents, permitting, and construction administration for the expansion of the district facilities. Presenter Steve Perez, General Manager.
Oh, this is good, because I just lost my staff report. Oh, I've got my staff report. The background on the project, as you recall, your board authorized Al Carlson of Carlson Architectural Company to provide preliminary design drawings for the expansion of the district offices. And the thought of using Al, because of his experience with this building as the original designer of the building, that he would have unique perspective in working with the layout and how the expansion could take place. Because after all, when they built this, they built it with an expansion in mind. It'll add additional secure space for the on-site record storage, and the cost of storing records off-site will be cut. And in various locations around the state, we also have storage. In addition to that, we have our records stored in storage containers out, and it's not the best place to have it. To date, the preliminary design by Carlson Architectural Company has cost the district approximately $8,948 and consisted of 7 preliminary drawings. Estimated construction cost of the expansion is approximately $2.2 million, a figure developed by Carlson Architectural Company by contacting various contractors and assuming prevailing wage, appropriate bonding, and insurance. Insurances would be necessary. And you should have in front of you a breakdown of the construction costs. And under the normal conditions, the architectural and engineering design would be approximately 8% of the construction cost, and which comes out to approximately $181,240. With the work that CAC, Carlson Architectural, has completed, it will reduce the overall cost to approximately $101,947.50. Now, when you add back Carlson's charge to do that, another almost $9,000, it will result in a net savings of approximately $70,343. Al Carlson is a neighbor to the Rosamond Community Services District, the original designer of the RCSD, and a good friend to the district and to those ratepayers in the community. and his invaluable work is definitely going to be a plus for the ratepayers. Because of the numbers that we're presenting, staff is requesting the board to approve a not to exceed $130,000 to complete the architecture and engineering for the district expansion. What has to be done, the balance of what has to be done, not to exceed that. Now, our numbers come in a lot lower, but we're asking for a not to exceed in the event that there is an unanticipated cost that we didn't calculate. And it's the recommendation of staff to have the board authorize a not to exceed $130,000.
Can I ask you a question, Steve?
Sure.
The prevailing wage, because this would be considered a governmental type job, we have to have that factored in that prevailing wage, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. There's no getting around it.
None.
Not even.
We can't even sell the building.
And then we're running out of space. You brought up the storage and all that. We're running out of space as we speak over here at the district. That's it. Space here, we're running out.
That's correct. The space will provide an EOC, an Emergency Operations Center, a very important integral part of the expansion. In addition to record storage, emergency storage for emergency supplies. We're developing emergency plans as we go, and we need places to put our emergency supplies. The Emergency Operations Center is going to be used for the eventual need to respond to an emergency in the community, a disaster, if you will, and have a central place where information sharing and deployment of staff and resources can be done. The communication between other agencies, sheriff, fire, state agencies, and local utilities and special districts also can come in to share resources.
You know, I want to commend staff on putting this together. This is something that we need. When we moved into this building, back when it was built, we had plenty of room, but we knew that one would come at one day that we're just going to need to expand because we're going to outgrow this building, like we outgrew our last one. But the EOC is most important, followed closely behind by being able to put all of our vital records and all of our records here on site rather than having them scattered all over the place. But Steve, could you share with some of your ideas about how that because of the earthquake that we just went through and the wake-up call it provided everybody that this EOC that we're going to be building will be an EOC communication for, you know, all agencies, Mojave, Boron, everybody working together. We need to come together to get things done to serve the people of Eastern Kern County.
That's correct, and we've had the preliminary discussion. I traveled to several of the outlying community service district and special districts and asked if they would be willing to get together to develop a mutual aid agreement amongst ourselves so we know when we have an issue and one of our agencies needs help, what resources are available. That is a disseminated point and information that can be given to a needy district. The communications in an emergency is probably your biggest challenge. Not to mention responding to leaks and breakages and what might happen, but to communicate to get to them is your biggest challenge. Brock has just met with in regard to our radios that can be outfitted to communicate with any of the agencies in the valley, any of the agencies that would be responding. And we're looking very seriously at that. And maybe I'll turn to Brock to give just a minor update on the radios.
The contractor that's installing the digital two-way radio system, which is Applied Technologies Group out of Bakersfield, came and did a site visit about 2 weeks ago at our location, and they've ordered the parts necessary to install the two-way radio system. One potential option for that is a cross-connection device that allows interconnectivity between different frequencies and different radio types. So although that's not included in the install, it's a potential option for the future to allow us to talk against across different frequencies through the entire Antelope Valley or through the entire state. But the parts are on order for the two-way radio install, and that will be installed in coming months.
Can you tell them what that additional piece of equipment would cost?
The additional piece of equipment to allow that interconnectivity between the different frequencies is approximately $4,000. And that would be installed at the base station or in the potential EOC building.
And I'd also like to touch on the expansion of the operations building as well, is that by adding this extra floor space and the 2-ton crane is going to give our staff the ability to be much more self-efficient to do repairs, tear pumps down, and work of that nature that we currently cannot do, in our facility. And so it's going to make us be able to be more efficient as a maintenance department and to give us the ability to do more work in-house than we're currently doing as well.
One of the things that staff has noticed is most of the conferences and things that we're going to right now, technology has passed us by, and we're sitting back, and in order to integrate to disaster responses and preparedness and having an EOC that can be responsive the way that others are preparing. We need to be mindful of the technological advances that are out there for us to look at and keep in mind.
Well, I think part of what I like with the expansion, at one point, all your staff, they may be here if you have some type of emergency, and I think part of getting people to do their job, they have to be comfortable in doing it, and you just can't cram everyone on top of each other and expect results. So I think the Emergency Command Center, we're the farthest east here, and we may become the focal point. So I think being in a position to meet those needs is good, and also your people have to be comfortable. If this gives them a little bit more elbow space to do their job, in the meantime, I think that becomes a benefit for us. Because you just can't expect people to always work in the most limited space possible and get it done. So I think as we move forward, the fact that Mr. Carlson, he designed the building, he knows the dynamics of it, that's the best person to have us to help to expand it. So I think we're in a good way moving forward here. Thanks, Jim.
Steve?
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment here. I agree with your comments. I had the opportunity to work closely with Metropolitan when they rolled out their Incident Command Center back in 2000. And the EOC is an intricate part of the rollout plan to address any type of disasters that you may have in the community. It also works as a coordinating, strategizing room, basically a war room to strategize what our moves will be, in fact, if we had a major catastrophe. So really think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is good progress forward.
So this is an action item, and request your board to authorize us to move forward at not to exceed $130,000.
Right, do I have a motion to approve MB1?
Move. I'm making a second.
Motion made by Director Stewart, seconded by Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Oh, I might add, before we go to the next item, that when we get the preliminary drawings back, it'll be a starting point to be placed into the budget file to start preparing for the expansion.
Okay, MB2, approve Board of Directors conference and meeting list, presented with Zach Guerrero, Assistant General Manager.
Good evening. So before you, you have a list of the remaining fiscal year 2019-2020 list of conference and meetings. And this is something that SDRMA, our insurance provider, requires us to do every year. And if you have any additional meetings that you would like to attend, you can just let us know so that we can add them to the list. But basically, they just want a blanket list that where you've given yourselves authority to go, because you'd be acting on, you'd be conducting district business, and that way the insurance can cover you in case something happens.
Do I have a motion to approve MB2?
Motion to approve the rules.
Second.
Motion is made by Vice President Webb, seconded by Director Washington. Any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, MB3, appointment of management analyst, presented with Zach Guerrero, Assistant General Manager.
We have found a qualified candidate and would like the board to grant his authorization to fill the position at an hourly rate of $32.26 an hour.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve MB3?
A motion to approve the selection.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is made by Vice President Webb, seconded by Director Glennan. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Me.
Opposed.
Okay. We have a motion carries 3-2.
I'm sorry, for the minutes, can you please state who opposed?
Okay, Director Washington and Director Stewart were opposed. Okay, Director reports, comments, future agenda items? Start with Vice President Webb.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for attending. This afternoon, I had a privilege. I was meeting with the GM Manager, privilege to see a short presentation that, Steve, they're going to see that later, right? The presentation, yeah. So I'll save that, but just go, Steve, that mentioned about technologies earlier, shows what technologies can do, and I'll leave it at that there because it speaks for itself. But, and again, congratulations to you, Mr. 26.
Thank
Job
you.
well done, sir. Thank you. I'm good.
Stewart?
I didn't make this comment during the part where we're bringing up the EOC, but I like to see that we're doing that, becoming more self-reliant. I think that the citizens of Rosamond are going to come looking at us when something happens. And then also the staff here needs to make sure that they have a place to bring their family so they're safe while they're out making the water back and the sewer working for our citizens. So having the room to accommodate them and also supplies, I think that's a step in the right direction. So that's all I got.
Director Glennan? Director Washington?
Yeah, I just had a comment. Wanted to thank the president, GM, and assistant GM for the PFAS workshop we had last January 16th. I believe this was really good information that put us out in front of an issue that may impact us down the road. It just so happened I saw a news report last night about PFAS and the chemical and where it's used and everything from microwave popcorn, styrofoams, and a whole lot of things that I wasn't aware of. And pretty much what I gathered from the conclusion of this news report is that the attention soon will be shifted to the manufacturers of this chemical. So just want to thank you guys for getting us out front on an issue that may affect us down the road.
And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. And I'd like to also extend on Director Stewart's deal with the EOC, is that the EOC is a very important part of any public agency. It's something that we hope we never have to use. But at the same time, when an emergency hits, you want to make sure that everything is being taken care of in the most efficient manner that protects the public's health and safety. And that's what the EOC will allow us to do. And I mean, I hope we never go through another 7.0 earthquake again, but when we do, and if it does hit closer to home, that we will be able to take care of the people in this community. And this EOC will go a long ways in being able to do that. And also, I'd like to again congratulate Juan. And now that we were nice to you and gave you a nice award, you're stuck here for at least another 20 years.
At least 10.
All right, and with that, General Counsel update?
No update at this point.
General Manager update.
Yeah, in regard to the Water Master, you have my report in front of you. We're still working through and tweaking the agreement and the contract. Comments been made by some of the advisory committee members. The last response to those comments had been received, but too late to get it on the agenda. So we're off to the February agenda. It appears, and the comments made by the assembly or the advisory member were satisfied. He said that those were very good written comments back and adjustments, and he had no further, but he reserved his right to continue to review, which all of us do. And so we're hopeful it'll be on the next agenda in February. Moving to the strategic plan is finished and available for your review. I'll be emailing that draft out to you for comments for your review. And any comments that you may have, please get them back to me so I can adjust those, and we can move forward with that. We will be looking at the logo, and we might be changing the tagline. So if you have any ideas for a tagline change, please feel free to give me that info also. The ACP replacement project, as you're aware, will take on Oak, Elm, Orange Streets, Lincoln, Richfield, Franklin, and Monte Vista. And that's due to start within the next couple of weeks. We're waiting on a traffic management plan, and hopefully that'll be done by mid-week next, and we should get that permit a day or two afterwards. The Diamond Street building status report. Staff has been wading through more legal hurdles, and we've run into several speed bumps. And we're still analyzing those. We don't know exactly how it's going to affect us, but we want to let the board know that we'll bring this back at to the next meeting with an update more specific for your board's consideration. The consolidation of the mutual water that's been going on for the past 13 years. All the agreement letters have been mailed to the consolidated mutuals, and when we receive their signature and return on those agreements, we'll be sending them to the Division of Drinking Water as well as the local to Jesse Dollywall. And when it gets approved at the division, then it'll go to funding. We're that close on funding. I'm hoping we'll have funding before summer.
Of this year?
Of this year.
2020.
2020. So let's hope.
Steve, in talking with one of the mutuals that keeps in touch with me, are all of them on board and they're gonna sign them and send them back?
I think most of them are. There was some, it wasn't all done without question or concern. And a lot of the question and concern had to do with their water rights. And once we hook up to them, we will receive, if they have a certain need, we will take that equivalent water right from them. Some of them don't have enough water right through the adjudication to serve their constituents. In that case, the difference will be paid for by the state of California through that grant process. Those that have enough will exchange that back and forth. And basically what it is in the adjudication, many times in court, I spoke up to the judge that we were in a consolidation and we needed consideration for their water. So their water use equivalent will be given to us so we can increase our water use, so we're not having to experience a deficit of hours in order to feed, to serve the expanded population.
My question is do all the mutuals have to be in, or if one mutual hasn't signed it, does that hold up the whole?
No,
thing?
no. I think at one time they wanted this to go as a big, bring it all together at one time. The state would like that. I think over 13 years they've realized that there's going to be some holdouts or possibly people that don't want to be involved. The situation is the consolidation is required based on, for most of these entities, because of some sort of water violation, a constituent in their water that they have to mitigate. And if they don't consolidate, then they have to find a way and spend their own money for the cost of that mitigation. So this cost is going to be borne by the state of California.
When it's in and it comes back, we need to really notify the various mutuals on the 6-acre program there are that it is going to happen. Some of them keep wondering if it's ever going to happen.
I spoke within the last 2 hours before the meeting with 2 that have called to inquire, and just so happens all the letters have been sent out, certified mail, except for one was a hand carry. And I got in touch with that individual's wife, and he'll call me in the morning.
Okay, perfect.
And so we're able to say the attorneys have seen it, they've passed it on, they're mailed out. When you get it, return it. If you know any of them that are in it, encourage them to sign it and return it. And so that's where we're at right now. One other water, as you're aware, your board authorized the purchase of 1,180 acre feet of carryover water. We're in that process. We exchanged contracts back to our attorney and back and forth already. And the suggested changes from our attorney to theirs have been accepted, and we're moving forward on that. That should be completed anytime. What we'll do is we'll fill out the application for the transfer. It'll go to the water master probably in February, could be in March. I'm not sure of their timeline to get that done for approval for the transfer, and then it'll be our water.
You know, I'd like to touch a little bit on your strategic plan, Steve, and about the logo and the slogan. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but this kind of stems from what we heard from that one gentleman that ran that agency in New York and had the importance of your logo and your slogan to the community, telling them what you do. This gentleman was in charge of a very large metropolitan agency in New York State, and had 28,000 employees and about 17,000 vehicles. They handled water and sewers and public utilities. And he said that their logo that they had on the side of their trucks and on the shoulder patch of their uniforms for years, including his windbreaker jacket that he wore when he was out in the field, people mistook it for the Department of Corrections. And he realized at that point is that nobody really saw all these vehicles all over the city all the time doing work and everything else, but nobody really knew who they were. And it's important because even today, some people don't know what the RCSD is or what we do. They think, oh, you're the water company. Well, yeah, we're the water company, but that's just a part of what we do. And so that's why it's important to have a logo where people know by just looking at the logo, they know who we are, what we do, and what we're doing for the community. And so that's why it's important to address this, and it's going to take some brainstorming to come up with a good logo that's going to get that out there where people know who we are without having to ask, or who are those guys?
I'd like to accomplish that at least cost possible.
Very good report, Steve.
Thank you.
And with that, if there's any more other questions, we'll move on to our Assistant General Manager.
Steve, we still need to get Steve. The presentation from Dave.
Well, I guess before you get started with that, can I go back to Steve?
He left.
You left.
You left.
You abandoned.
Oh, okay.
He'll be back.
If there was any update today on the valve that failed, looks like he rolled out real quick on it, and we're just wondering what the
You got it all
update
done,
is.
Rob. He's talking about the water valve main floor. You got to cut it off. Yeah, Greg, Rob's here. You can ask him.
Oh, okay.
Will we be addressing them on there?
Yeah, I can handle it right now. So today during normal valve exercising and maintenance procedures, we had a mainline valve break in the neighborhood behind Albertsons. In order to repair that main line, we had to shut down a portion of the community, which left the Albertsons complex without water for about 45 minutes. The valve was an older valve and we didn't have parts in stock to repair, but we were able to actually make the parts to repair the valve. So within a time of about 3 hours, the valve was repaired and all water was restored.
That's amazing. 3 hours.
Hey, Mark, this occurred during routine maintenance, loop and exercise?
Yeah, this was during a valve exercising. The two bolts that hold the bonnet on top of the valve actually broke during the closing process. So when the valve was reopened, the bonnet came loose and water was leaking out of the top of the bonnet.
Well, I hate to put it this way, but sometimes it's a good thing. Let's say, for example, you want to go out and close that valve. We had a big break or something. You need to close that valve, and the valve failed on you. So I think today shows the importance of routine maintenance, exercising the valves, so that we know what type of condition our valves are in.
That's exactly why we have a valve exercising program.
Good job.
Thank you.
This is the updated video from January 2020. I don't think the sound's working, but this will show the progress of the guys' wastewater reclamation facilities.
Is that 10 or 12 train beds?
There's 11 total. There would be 12, but one of the existing.
Some of the things that can be done with this technology is when somebody will click on it, it'll be able to be manipulated to look around on the screen. You'll be able to click on it and move it and look around at your leisure. We'll have a site for the media to be able to go to download the pictures as we post them, and so you'll have that to provide us weekly stories if you desire. But the information will be accessible.
Steve, is any update on when we'll be able to set up tours for the media to go out there and get a hands-on tour of the facilities?
I had a discussion with, maybe with you the other day, telling you that I was going to do that. I have not reached out to the media that's here. The offer is available. That I ask that if you have an available day, the three of you are more than welcome. We'll schedule it and we'll go out and do a tour so you can see it firsthand.
We also updated on the customer page on the website. If you go down to the bottom where it says WWRF Construction Updates, it'll give you the 360-degree photo, all of the ones we've taken by date, and we'll continue to put them in chronological order so folks can see the evolution of it as it goes through.
Well, you know, these are great videos and really great updates, but as I discussed with Steve, is that, you know, having, you know, the ability to walk through and, you know, see to stand on the side of the new BioLac filter and just to get an appreciation of the scope of size and looking at other areas of the drying beds, the percolation basin, you know, seeing these big massive pieces of equipment up close, moving the dirt around. It really paints a whole new picture and story as well, and that's why, you know, it's important for the media to get out there and participate in this as we move along through it too. That way it's just the more information we get out there to keep our public informed, the better off we'll be.
The one thing you have to remember, this is an active construction site with big equipment, and even when I'm out there, I'm constantly watching, and because those big pieces of equipment cannot see you. And when I know that the board wanted to take the public out there, and I'm hopeful that they don't request that we take the public out there yet. That's why we're trying to go the extra mile to provide this information for the public. Because if we get a lot of public out there, we're setting ourselves up for a potential
Well,
liability.
I see this, Steve, and first of all, thank you, this is awesome. I think with all the dynamics, I mean, I liken this to a technical operation. You can't bring everybody in initially, at some point they'll get there, but, I mean, looking at this here, you have a little market of what's going on. I mean, this kind of speaks to itself. I mean, we'd like to get them out there, but I just think until we can deem a lot of this a lot safer, because, I mean, if you look at those earth movers, that's 20 feet off, 15, 20 feet off the ground, and they ain't seeing much of nothing, but something like this here is a very nice presentation, and it kind of gives you a little sense of pride that you can see that we collectively as a district responsible for all this, and we have to explain what all this is going to do. But this is a nice presentation, and thank you very much for the effort on this one. I wanted you to hold that pole in the air.
These ones are, we stitch them together through the drones that we fly.
How high up are you shooting down?
We have to stay under 400 feet, so we go at a variety of distances. But this one is about 150, 200 feet up from that, so it's high enough to give you a scope of everything around it, but low enough too that if you zoom in, you can still get some good quality on that. And then, Greg, if you guys wanted to, I agree with what you're saying about the media, but if there was any specific close-up shots that you guys wanted, for whatever reason, we have that we'd be able to do
It's
too.
great, it's fantastic, and it's, making a lot of progress. You got moving a lot of dirt out there.
Yeah, the cost was, yeah, the cost
Yeah,
was.
one of them, one. This is very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Now
I'm on.
you're on.
As we're aware, SB98 will impact existing practices, policies, and procedures relating to delinquent accounts and discontinuation of water service. District staff is currently working on updating our discontinuation policies for residential customers to be in compliance with the new laws that go into effect February 1st, 2020. A special board meeting is scheduled for Monday, January 27th at 4:30. Correction to that report, please. For the board to consider these policies. Also, earlier this afternoon, I emailed the directors a copy of the educational meeting notice that will be mailed out by MBS relating to LLAD number 3. RCSD hired MBS to form a replacement assessment district pursuant to the provisions of the Landscaping and Lighting Assessment Act of 1972. The formation of LLAD 3 will replace the existing LLAD 1 and 2 assessment districts and will generate the revenue necessary to support the operation maintenance of both arterial and interior streetlights within LLAD number 3. The district organized an educational meeting to discuss the proposed formation of LLAD number 3 with property owners. This meeting will address the following topics. What will your assessment rate be? Who votes for the district? What will happen to the existing districts? What happens next? The timeline. How was my assessment rate calculated? The educational meeting is scheduled for February 6th at 6 p.m. Following this meeting before the board on February 26th, we will be presenting a resolution of intention which declares the intention to establish LLAD 3, a resolution initiating the proceedings, and an engineer's report for your consideration, and then the mailed assessment ballot packages will be sent on March 4th, and the ballots will be tabulated on April 22nd. Also, I emailed the directors earlier and staff regarding Form 700. You received a filing information packet. These forms are due no later than April 1st, 2020. If after reviewing the attachments you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or legal counsel.
Can we get a paper copy of that?
Yes, we can. The PDF forms are fillable. They are.
Any questions of our assistant GM? Thank you, Zach. Okay, consultant finance update, Brad, I don't think he's in attendance. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Somebody stole my seat. No update tonight, thank you.
That's why we need the expansion, sir.
Okay, Director of Public Works update, John, are you gonna give his update, Brooke, or?
Yeah, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, you have nothing to report on your?
No.
Okay. And with that, a motion for adjournment.
Moved. Second.
Vice President
talked about it when we were
Webb,
out.
all in favor of adjournment? Aye. And we are adjourned at 6:50.